Oh, welcome again to the channel. Welcome, welcome. I'm Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, published by Simon & Schuster Saga Press. Today I am reviewing Jhereg by Stephen Brust, book one in Stephen Brust's Vlad Taltos Assassin series. Let's just talk about what this is. Well, first of all, you know we always review the covers. This book came out in 1983. Keep that date in mind, by the way. 1983. This is a great illustration by Stephen Hickman. And Stephen Hickman did pretty much most of the illustrations for the rest of the series, which I have here. And we're going to talk a little bit about the whole series as a whole and this book individually. If you watched my review of Stephen Brust's book, The Phoenix Guards, this series, the Vlad Taltos series, takes place in the same universe. And that universe is the realm of Dragira, and particularly the city of Adrilanka, where Vlad Taltos is our main assassin guy. Actually, he's not just an assassin. He's an assassin, a thief, a mercenary, a bounty hunter, a spy, and above all else, a sorcerer. And if you want to know who the grandfather or the granddaddy of all assassin fantasy, Stephen Brust did it first. Like I said, 1983. He's been writing in this series. The series is still going on. He's been writing a book every 2 to 3 years in the series. And Vlad Taltos is the most badass, wisecracking assassin you will know. He's like the Jack Reacher of fantasy. In other words, he is the smartest dude in every room that he goes into. And not only that, but he's the most badass dude. He's like the Mandalorian. You know, he's just got a trick up he's just cool, calm, wisecracking, and got a trick up his sleeve at every opportunity. Whether it's daggers up his sleeve or sorcery up his sleeve, I don't know. He just does it, and the wit and comedy and the dry wit and the over-the-top wit, it's all there. If you want to know where the inspiration for The Lies of Locke Lamora, or Mark Lawrence or Joe Abercrombie, if you want to know where that inspiration came from, if you want to know where that stems from, if you want to know where it began, you have to read the Vlad Taltos series, starting with Jhereg and reading through the rest of them. And I'll get into the particulars of this book, but I want to talk about the world itself first. Dragira, and the city of Adrilanka, they're ruled by 17 great houses. And these great houses are named after sort of astrological signs or beasts that live in the world, or different races of people that live in the world. And so these astrological signs are called, and I'll name them all because they're important to the story. They're mentioned throughout the story: Phoenix, Dragon, Liorn, Tyassa, Hawk, Dezur, Isola, Salma, Valista, Jhereg, Ioric, Creothra, Yendi, Orca, Tekla, Jagala, and Ethera. Now, Stephen Brust has been doing, like, this is book number one, Jagala, named after one of those great houses. And every book is named after another great house: Tekla, Yendi. And he's doing one book for every one of those great houses until all of it's done. He's almost got them all written. 1983 is when it first came out. 1983, and he's been doing one every 2 to 3 years since. And it's about the assassin slash thief slash sorcerer Vlad Taltos, sort of our Mandalorian Jack Reacher of the world. And what happens is, in this story, let's just talk about this story. I want to read the first line, actually, because the first line is brilliant. This will give you an idea of the flavor that we're looking at here. So, this is the very first opening scene of the book. There is a similarity, if I may be permitted, an excursion into tenuous metaphor between the feel of a chilly breeze and the feel of a knife's blade, as either is laid across the back of the neck. So right there we're in the hands of a master writer, because that's a great opening line. And that is told from the perspective of Vlad Taltos, our main guy. It is first person. It's all told through his eyes, through his mind, through his wit, through his voice. We see and are introduced to everything in the world. We're introduced to the Phoenix Guards. We're introduced to Castle Black and to, Sethra Lavote and all the characters. And he is married. This book starts out when he's just a kid, and he comes across a Tekla. Not a Tekla. He comes across a Jhereg. That's why the book is called Jhereg. He comes across a Jhereg, which is one of these little dragons, and they're no bigger than like a parrot. And they sit on his shoulder, and he's psionically linked to. He made a deal with the Jhereg's mother, and the Jhereg is named Leosh. So Leosh is given to Vlad as sort of a familiar. He's psionically linked to it so they can talk and speak, which is very helpful if you're an assassin or a thief and you're sneaking around and you've got this little dragon that can kind of do all your little spying for you and psionically tell you kind of what to look out for. And they got a good relationship with a lot of sort of witty banter back and forth. And so that's about the first tenth of the book is Vlad's youth, where he becomes acquainted with his companion for life, his familiar, the Jhereg. And then it skips to about 7 years later when Vlad Taltos is an older teenager, maybe into his early 20s. He's already married. He's married to Kati, who works with him in this they're sort of like private investigator. They're sort of like the Harry Dresden group. Like, you know how Harry Dresden solves supernatural mysteries in Chicago? Well, Vlad Taltos has to do this to solve supernatural mysteries, or they send people send him on assassin quests or thief quests or spy quests. And each one of the books is different what quest he goes on. But in this one, he has sent, and him and his wife Kati and his strong man, his henchman Kragar, and his familiar Loyosh are given a job to assassinate a dude. And so they go to assassinate the dude, but they find out that this dude is hiding out in Castle Black, which is one of the hardest places to crack in all of Adrilanka. And so that is the plot setup. It's an assassination plot. They're getting paid to assassinate the guy. Just so happens the guy is hiding out in the hardest building in the city to break into. And there we go. That's the plot. And let the fun begin. And let the daggers fly. And let the sorcery fly. And let the expletives fly. And let the all of the fun and wit and banter and just great, super grim, dark fun. Stephen Brust did it first, and I'm telling you, I think he did it best. I think Lynch, Abercrombie, and Lawrence got a lot to thank this guy for breaking ground. I mean, this guy broke that ground in the 80s when Tolkien and epic fantasy was the rage, and this guy, Stephen Brust, he was the first to break the mold. First to break the mold. If you haven't read him or heard of him, you got to. And the series is wonderful, and he's still writing them to this day. So I give Jhereg, Book 1 in the Vlad Taltos series, 9.5 out of 10. I just think it is that spectacular of a book, and they are all real easy reads. Go get them, folks.